So SMAC is, we're a media company, a media and marketing company. We're really trying to pioneer something we call retail media. And most media is very focused on consumers. We try to focus very much on shoppers, and specifically shoppers that are doing their everyday shopping. And what we're trying to do is elevate everyday shopping from a lifestyle standpoint. So if you look at Food, Drug, Mass Club, these channels that you know very well, they're not shopped a lot, they're bought a lot. And so people make lists and they go into the store and they buy the things that they usually buy. If you talk about a supercenter, a Walmart supercenter, a big Target, or even a grocery store, even take a Walgreens, CVS, club store, there's tens of thousands of SKUs inside of there, and somebody's list might be 12 items long. So there's a lot of new products that people never get to see, and they budget their time very judiciously for going into these channels. So it's not like they're roaming the mall or browsing online, just sort of looking through what's new in laundry detergent, right? Said no one ever. And so how do you find all these new products? And so what we realized is, we could actually be a benefit or a service to people if we just curated a feed of products. So we launched two media properties, one focused on men, and the other focused on women. So product.one is a men's property, and aisle9.com is for women. And it's really all about everyday shopping, and it's a curated lifestyle feed of product that comes in each one. And then we created advertising and marketing programs that work really hard for retail-focused sort of shopper marketing companies. There's a lot going on in the traditional media where you can buy advertising and sort of plussed-up programs for consumers to build awareness. There's not a lot in the middle of that funnel that's going on, and so we tried to build marketing and advertising programs that work more middle of the funnel, that can drive from awareness, create interest and desire, and maybe even some understanding around what a product is or some new product, and then drive down either to the .com or drive activities in store. So, I had been consulting for about 8 years post-Walmart and got a lot of VP of Marketing for Hire sort of gigs, and ended up working with an agency in New York that managed YouTube channels for big brands. So think Procter & Gamble, LG, Sony. And one of the things that was unique and interesting about their model is they would manage their YouTube channels, but they would create a lot of content for them. And they created how-to videos. So imagine if you're CoverGirl Cosmetics, teaching young sort of preteen and teen girls how to put on their makeup. If you're CoverGirl, teaching them how to do this, how to get a cat eye or how to do good makeup for if you have eyeglasses, etc. You can be sort of in the consideration set because you're showing them here's all the cosmetics that you need to do that. They're very inexpensive. You buy them at a drugstore, Walmart. And so I probably wrote, directed, and or produced 250 of those kind of videos. And what this agency would do is they had a publishing brand called Houdini, and they would wrap Houdini around this, put it on the Houdini YouTube channel, and then they would syndicate that content out to AOL, Hulu, hundreds of other sites. They would create a branded version, so brand it CoverGirl, and stick it on P&G's website. 6 months later, the Houdini version would have 250,000, a million and a half views. This one would just be sitting here and would have 2,500 views. And what you realize is people want content from a publisher, not from a brand. It was the exact same content. And so this company began to pivot and created some technologies and analytics. And so they were going the tech route. And I said, there's something really interesting here that I was very interested in sort of replicating. And so launched a company, had a local guy put some money in, actually 2 local people put seed money in, and we began to go doing our homework on what's going on in the CPG world in Northwest Arkansas, and just spent literally a year doing homework, creating pitch decks, trying to sort of find something that would work. We felt like it was important to be in customer development before we were in product development. So we were looking for customers and what were their needs, and then how could we create something based on this solution that we understood that worked really well for brands from an awareness standpoint. How could we build something that would work equally well for the sort of 1,000 local vendor teams that exist here in Northwest Arkansas? Walmart's what, 30 to 40% of everybody's business. There's almost $19 billion spent on shopper marketing, so that's about $5 to $6 billion spent here in Northwest Arkansas. All the Fortune 500 CPG companies have offices here. So you can literally drive 10 miles north or south on 49 and hit all of the companies you need to. If it works at Walmart, you can be assured the corporate office hears about it. So we just go up the handle and out to the rest of shopper marketing. And if it works on the retail side, we knew the digital marketing, which just surpassed television, is another $72, almost $3 billion worth of advertising money that exists. So it's a big total market that you can play in. We realized that the scale opportunity was huge. If we could figure out something that worked here at Walmart, which is a really, really tough and competitive environment to market in. If you can move the needle in Walmart, you can move the needle elsewhere. If you can move the needle in retail, then the digital media side can open up for you as well. First, you hire really great editors. So these are the people that basically go shopping for all the time-starved people that don't have time to go shop in these channels. And so I have a woman named Anna Cottrell, who's a U of A grad and she's been a fashion blogger. She's owned a boutique. She worked at Neiman Marcus and the Gilt Group for a while. So she has a lot of cred and understanding in lifestyle publishing. And then another guy named Owen Bell, whose family's from around here. His dad's an ophthalmologist or an optometrist up at Bozeman Hoff. His brothers all lived around here. He worked at a website called uncrate.com. He was employee number one and the style editor there for years. And so he understood this, but really at a high level. And so he and I talked about most of the stuff that you see from product online, it's really unattainable. Like you can't afford it. You can look at beautiful stuff all day long, but who can afford $1,500 sneakers and $25,000 motorcycles and $250,000 cars and blazers that are $3,000, $4,000? They're fun to look at, but that's not really attainable. So we started saying, what if we could go shop the everyday places where everybody's at, curate a sort of lifestyle feed that was interesting that way, and that's what these guys are so good at. They really understand what's on trend. They understand what people want. They understand how to put it together and package it up in a way that's really beautiful. And again, elevating every day was what we wanted to do. It's a lot of times, I got tired of hearing people say, oh, well, that's the Walmart shopper. As though the Walmart shopper doesn't have eyes in their head, doesn't appreciate beautiful things, doesn't like something that's on trend or stylish or whatever. And so there was sort of this talking down to sort of middle America or talking down to the Walmart shopper. And it's like, I shop at Walmart. My wife does. All my wife's friends do. Everybody else does. Just because you choose to live in Bentonville or Fayetteville doesn't mean that you don't have good taste and you don't want something nice to wear, something great for your kids, something beautiful for your home. And these retailers have these things, both in store and online. And so I just send them shopping. I'm like, go find stuff. We have 9 different categories we cover for the women and 5 for the men. It was March of 2015 when I hired somebody, and I really just hired a woman to be my assistant and help me with client work because I had the client load that I couldn't handle. And so pretty soon after that, I was an agency of one for about 8 years, which meant I owned the client relationship, I do all the strategy, and I wrote a lot of checks to freelancers. And so I liked that because it made a more dynamic model where I could scale up around projects and then scale down at the end of the project. So I'd hire a lot of freelancers, small agencies, and others to execute work for me. So I just, instead of writing the checks to freelancers, I just started hiring some people, writers, designers, those kind of folks, and client management people. And our strategy year one was switch from solo consultancy to agency. Because everybody that hired me hired Sean to be a consultant. And I needed them to let Smack be the agency that did their work. And so we made that pivot. It took probably 6 to 9 months, and we were really intentional about it, about slowly introducing all of them to this team and assuring them that we were still paying attention to their business and there was going to be no service outage, et cetera. And so walked really methodically through that. That was the end of 2015. I took on funding in February of 2016 and in September of 2016. So I took on 2 rounds of angel funding. And that was all about, okay, what are we going to do? Now that we're an agency, let's look at where our revenue streams are. And we had 4 or 5 different revenue streams at the time. We did some B2B work. We had some B2C clients. We had e-commerce clients. I had some authors that I was doing client work for. So we looked at all these and we said, let's keep doing all this work and let's see, as an agency, what can we do best? Because we didn't really know. One of my partners was John James, who had started Acumen Brands, so he understood a lot of customer acquisition, so we started building some of his know-how into what we did. I had another guy named Jim Leszewski, who was a big CRM and big data and sort of customer segmentation, so we started we built an offering out, and we started seeing what segment was going to make the most sense. And so it looked like sort of a content marketing offering. So acquire customers, market to them and CRM through CRM and email over time, sort of build relationship with them. So customer acquisition, sort of relationship over time. The B2B space, super crowded space, we were late to it. So we said, let's let that go to the side. I loved working with authors, but unless somebody is, you know, a 7-figure New York Times bestselling author, there's just not a lot of money and they should probably be doing stuff themselves. So we let them go. E-commerce is really, really hard to have an agency. You should be doing all your customer acquisition internally because it's so dynamic and it's so tied to all the rest of the business and supply chain and inventory, and it's really hard to do externally on that. We've been doing some brand projects. We sort of let them go, and so that left B2C. And I said, okay, what are we going to do for this? Am I going to get in an airplane and fly all over the country and pitch people, or could I figure out something to do right here in our backyard? And that's how we got to the whole piece about learning, is taking and pitching this over and over and over. And I tell you, Matt, it was awful. Oh my goodness. I had so many pitches where I had one, it was funny. If Kelsey was here, she could tell you, we were both on the phone, and her dad's a broker, a sales broker, and one of his clients needed some work. So I do this pitch. I pitch my brains out. At the end, it's like silent for about 5 or 10 seconds. And this older gentleman was like, that was a really interesting pitch. And I'm just not sure what you do or how it can help us. It's like, oh my goodness, I got to rework it again. And so after every pitch, I'd ask whatever questions they asked, I'd go try to hone in on them on the pitch because we were looking for customers. I knew what we knew how to do, but I didn't have a customer for it. And if I didn't have a customer for it, then this wasn't going to work. And I was meeting with a company here, field agent. I was meeting with Rick West. We were sitting together, and I wanted him to be able to create a dynamic printable coupon for me that was literally going to be a map. It was going to, people would give us what store they like to shop at, and I was going to give them a map from the parking lot to the shelf to show them exactly how to find it. And we figured out how to do it with Field Agent, and I was telling him what we were doing, and he said, Sean, you should go after demo budgets. Like, that sounds a lot like a better version of an in-store demo. You should. And so I remember driving back to the office, and I was like, we'll call it a digital demo. It's exactly what we'll do. We'll make it a digital version of the in-store demo. So I went back and I literally just sort of reworked, same exact pitch, renamed it digital demo, sort of said, here's the current problems with demos, here's what we solve on it. And basically the exact same pitch, but in that language, went to the next pitch, sold, went to the next pitch, sold, went to the next pitch, sold. So I said, okay, we're onto something now. But that literally took 6 to 9 months of pitching all the time and just blank stares, confusion, just being willing to just keep going and reworking the deck. We have a digital demo 2.0 that we're actually doing with Field Agent. We have a relationship with them that we're doing some business to consumer. You know, they're a data collection group that's mostly B2B. We have some really cool, in fact, we're in private beta with a couple of clients right now with some really cool stuff we're doing with them. Students that want to start a business have to figure out, they have an idea. Most people, what happens is they start on this idea and they go into product development mode. And you don't need to be in product development. You need to be in customer development mode. There's a guy named Steve Blank. He wrote that book. Have you ever read The 4 Steps to the Epiphany? He has a whole model for customer development. And Eric Ries, who's the guy wrote Lean Startup, Eric Ries sat in Steve Blank's class and heard the teaching on 4 Steps to the Epiphany. And he went out and started studying lean methodologies and all of this. And all that's baked into, but it's all that. And I found that book and realized, oh, this is the language for what we've been doing. It's called customer development. I know what I want to do, trying to find somebody to sell it to and a way to sell it to them that makes sense. And what are their needs? Because I don't want to just make something and try to ram it down people's throats. I want to make something that actually solves a problem. I always say you're trying to push a business until it pulls you. Right? I mean, you know this. You've run businesses before. You get the business to a point where it takes on a momentum and it gets an inertia, and then you're just hanging on and trying to just sort of keep it out of the ditches that way. But, man, you're pushing for a long time. She's one of the rare exceptions I've ever seen of somebody that was consulting at their dining room table and then, staff a team, grow it big, sell it, and then running at the holding company as well. Andy Murray was sort of an example of that as well. There's very few people that sort of make it through all this. I have a lot of friends who get to, and they're like, I don't like it anymore. I'm just going to sell out and go start back here at this one. So that's the thing for me that for me personally, my sort of journey is I'm like, I want to see how far up the chain I can run it. I've done through the seed, and we've gotten it here, we crested 1 million. Now I'm like looking, going, how do we get from the 1 million to 10? That one actually seems more daunting to me. And so that one takes a different skill set. Now it's like I'm developing my team and teaching them how to develop their team to get stuff done. That's what it'll take to get from 1 to 10. It's probably a B round of funding. We're looking at an A round soon. There's probably a B round of funding at that point. And then it's like, can I ride it from there to 100? And then there's a C round of fun, right? And so you just sort of say, that's for me the journey of how high can I take this? That's sort of my challenge in this stage of my career. So.
Are your seed